So what are data types, right? Very important concept. So what we do in database is basically we create tables. So tables contains rows and columns, right? So this is basically columns, right? Whatever I'm showing you, this is column employee ID, this is employee name, salary, department, city. And these are actually rows. Rows are actually the data that you see. This row belongs to an employee called ID. His name is John Smith. Salary is 2200. So basically, row will tell you information about that particular record, right? So this record belongs to a employee called as John Smith. His employee ID is 1, 2300 is salary, and so on, right? So this is basically rows and columns, right? Now, what is the I mean, what is the data type, right? And what is its impact? So basically, you can see here we have columns here, right? So this is a column called as employee ID. This is an employee name. This is salary, department. These are columns, right? Now these columns, if you look at this employee ID, we have only numbers. If you look at the employee name, we only have characters, string. We don't have numbers here. Similarly, salary also, we only have numbers. Department also, we have only numbers. So this is controlled by a data type. So a data type will tell you what is the data, what is the kind of data a column is supposed to store or is allowed to store. So it basically tells you the kind of data column is allowed to store. Column is allowed to store. Okay, this is what a data type does. Okay, data type. All right. So in here, in this example, the employee ID, the data type, we are saying it as number. We are saying only numbers are allowed. Here we are saying only text is allowed or string is allowed. Okay. Now, why is this required? This is very, very, very important. We need to define proper data types because what happens is like, let's say if I don't if I define this as character, let's say if I define this as string, so an employee ID will have values like let's say Robin, right? So this is not the right value, right? So employee ID cannot be a Robin or it cannot be a John or it cannot be something. It is an ID, it is basically a number. So it tells you what is the correct format, what is the storage format it should be, right? Whether it's a number, whether it is a string and everything, right? And what are the allowed values, right? So there are cases where, let's say, salary cannot be zero, right? So we can have such check saying that these are the allowed values and these are not the allowed values. So allowed values, what are the allowed values? And memory usage, right? So let's say the next is memory. So if in ID, if you say number as 12, right? This basically means you are allocating 12 spaces, 12 places for storing employee ID. But if you're only having single digit numbers, then you are actually wasting those 11 spaces, right? 11 place. So it is important for us to kind of ensure that we are optimizing the memory. So it whatever is required, only that storage we will allocate. So instead of 12, if you are having just single digits, you will just say number of one. Or if you are going like two digits, or in future you might have up to five digits, you just put five digits there instead of giving any random number, right? So that is the main importance of data type, right? So we need to ensure that we give the correct data type and ensure that we do not do any sort of wastage, storage wastage, because more data or more space it goes, it will also degrade your performance as well. So it is very important that you have the right database, sorry, right data type allocated. So we'll look at the examples. So we'll look at what are the data types that are available. So let me do a slideshow here, right? So yeah, so these are basically the data types that are available, right? So we have something called as character, we have varchar2, we have number of PS, we have date, we have timestamp, clock, block. Okay, so let's understand one by one, right? So, okay, so character, right? So the first one is character, right? So character basically stores fixed character strings. Okay, so what that does mean. So for example, if I use character, again, characters are basically strings, right? You can store names. So if I say character of 10, right? So what this means is Oracle will store you 10 spaces. So it will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? So you will have, in a disk, you are occupying this 10, right? Now, if your name is, let's say, only two characters or three characters, let's say the name is Joe, right? The name is Joe and it only occupies three characters. Now, what happens is you have allocated 10 characters, but you're only occupying three characters, right? In that case, what happens is like the remaining seven characters will all be blanks. So blanks will be added, right? And so it will basically use up your 10 characters. So even if you require only three characters, you are basically using 10 characters, seven characters are wasted. So this is a wastage storage, right? So that is what character is, basically fixed length character only. Now, varchar, on the other hand, is a variable, right? So, if you use a varchar 2 of 10, what happens if you have a name Joe, right? Although you are basically saying, hey, my name can be up to 10 characters, but if your name is only three characters, it will only use those three characters. It will not use the 10 characters. So the seven characters, those seven places will not be wasted. You will only use the three characters, only three character space will be used. So you are actually safe here. So what we do is like usually we only use varchar2. Character is only used very rarely. That is only for flags, like one character of one. So yes or no, right? Y or n. Only for those values used, but varchar2 also we can use for the same. So most cases, like most people just blindly go with varchar2 because it's a variable, right? If you can give as much space and if it is not used, it's not used, right? Cool. Now next, we have something called as number. All right. So what number is basically for storing decimals, right? So like say ID. Now ID you can store up to 10 digits here. You can store up to whatever number digits you want. Now number of PS basically store precision. So decimal point like 10 comma 2, right? So let's say if you are using this 10 comma 2, what that means is we let's say there is a number called 101.2, okay, 25. So here 10 comma 2 basically means before dot you can have 8 places, after dot you can have 2 places, right? So that is what the number of PS does. Date is for storing some date. Timestamp will basically store date plus time. So it is an extension of date. Glob is basically for storing long or large text value. So it can go up to 128 terabytes of characters. Blob stores images, files, and videos. So glob and blob is something we don't use regularly. All the other data types like varchar, number, date, timestamp is something that we use regularly, right? So these are basically the data types that we have, important data types. All right. So let me just end this slideshow here. Okay. So in our earlier class, we had already created a table, and here you can see that we have given the data type as number, and we have said this is only up to 2 places, right? Because we have single digits in our use case, so we only use 2 places. E-name is a varchar2, so we use varchar2 instead of character because our name can be up to 15 characters, so we don't want to waste space, right? So similarly, salary is number 4, department number. So these are how you use data types. Okay, so this is a very, very important concept. Understanding what data type to use is very, very important for variety of reasons. You don't want to store the wrong data. You don't want to use extra spaces. So very important for us to understand the data types and why they are used and what is the optimum way of using it. All right. So over the next few sessions, we'll create different tables and we will use these data types and we'll start practicing all these things. Right. So this is all for this session and I'll see you guys in my next class.